What's up, Previews World? Troy Jeffrey Allen here with PREVIEWsworld.com, of course. And welcome to the X-Men Roundtable. Now, I don't know why it's called the X-Men Roundtable necessarily. I couldn't think of a better name. But actually, I guess that's kind of fitting considering the topic of X-Men that we're going to be discussing, which is the Dawn of X run. It's Jonathan Hickman's run that started late in 2019 and is continuing on right now at your local comic shops with Ten of Swords. And I've got truthfully, some of my friends, because I just want to talk about it. Look, I've been stuck in the house for like about several months now, just like the rest of you. I only get to go to my comic shop, get to go to my comic shop with my mask on. You know, I go in, I go out. That's it. And so I'm like, all right, I want to have a comic shop talk. So let's introduce the people that I'm going to comic shop talk with. First up, Chris Powell of Three Black Geeks. What's up, Chris? Where is he at?
What's going on?
Keeping it gangster. Okay.
Always.
Also hanging out with me this week tonight is YouTube's mystical Green Beanie.
Hello there. How's it going?
There you go. All right. A big face reveal, right? This is like an official, like, you've been doxxed. I've doxxed you. How do you feel about that?
I feel more bad for you guys than anyone else, but yeah.
And I think the next person in the lineup is supposed to be Cy, aka Shaq Money of Rap Reviews and the Wall of Soundtracks.
What's up? How you doing?
What's up? All these gang signs, guys. You guys need to chill. All right. And last but not least, James Sceritz Robinson of the Green Lantern podcast, and I might add, writer of Scorpio and father. How about that?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? What's going on?
What's up, guys? Thanks for joining me. Thanks for just taking the call here, just hanging out with me. Look, like I said, Cy and Mystical Green Beanie over here, right? We both frequent the same comic shop. Shout out to Alliance Comics and Games. And we're used to just kind of walking in there, wasting easily 2 hours talking about what's going on in the nerd sphere, what's going on in the comic books, just nerding out. And you know what? I missed that because COVID is kind of preventing me from doing that. So I want to talk to you guys about Dawn of X, what Marvel is dubbing the Dawn of X. And like I mentioned earlier, this is everything that started with Jonathan Hickman's House of X, Powers of X in late 2019, all the way up to Ten of Swords in comic shops right now. So quick and lazy overview, right? Moira McTaggart is a mutant. Surprise. The long-standing X-Men supporting character has been revealed to have a Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow type abilities. I like Edge of Tomorrow, so whatever. She lives and dies and repeats, but her actions while she lives can and will influence the history of the X-Men and the Marvel Universe, particularly when she approaches Charles Xavier and Magneto and basically tells them, dummies, you're doing this all wrong. Charles and Magneto decided self-segregation from the rest of the MCU is, I'm sorry, the MC, the MU is key, not the MCU. They set up shop on Krakoa, a safe haven and a nation for all mutants. But Krakoa, we're finding out slowly, Krakoa has history, does it not? Yes, it does. So look, let's just kick this off right now. Let's get to the big question first. Are you okay with this overall retcon, guys? Like, this was kind of an upheaval of a lot of things that we've known about the X-Men for years. And now they're telling us certain events happened, certain events didn't happen. Actually, now that I think about it, it kind of feels like rebirth, but it's being accepted way more easily, I think. So I'm gonna start with you, Chris. What do you think of this retcon? Are you with it? Are you not with it? What's up?
I'm with it. If you've read any of Hickman's books, particularly with the way Hickman, if you go all the way back to when he did Secret Warriors and we got that whole reveal of Hydra and Shield are like one and the same. They're part of this big conspiracy group and stuff. And then they go back to like, what was it, Shield 1878, and you find Leonardo da Vinci founded Shield, and it's it's like, okay, okay, fine. So the way they did it, the fact that Moira is a mutant, it still keeps in line with what her position was with the mutants all the way up to this point and stuff. It's just that was just one timeline where clearly Xavier's way didn't work. All right, let's go to Magneto's way of doing things. Oh crap, that didn't work. Apocalypse, can you help? Oh crap, it didn't work. All right, let's try something else, and so it lines up. It kind of threads the needle in a way where it doesn't quite 100% Like they don't do a DC where it's like, yeah, we're just gonna retcon everything and just figure it out. It's like, no, it's like a light retcon, but not in a way that kills the history, so to speak. So I'm fine with that because that's really kind of the that's how you kind of thread the needle, so to speak, in doing retcons. Is like as long as it doesn't mess up your stuff that you've done in your past, which is kind of like the Marvel way anyway. They'll do a like reboot without killing everything and stuff. So I'm fine with it. I'm just curious to see where this is all going to land. That's kind of how I am with Hickman anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. What about you, Mystical Green Beanie? What's going on with you? I'm just gonna call you MG because that's a lot to say.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll take it. I guess I have like a unique perspective relative to you guys, as I'm pretty sure. Well, I know for a fact that Troy is way more of an X-Men fan than I could ever hope to be. Because I'm an X-Men normie. The extent of my knowledge on the X-Men, as I've said in videos on my own channel in the past, is I've read Morrison, I've read the key issues of Claremont, and I've read pretty much everything between Schism and now, which
that's a rough ride.
So but all the current stuff is great. I like it a lot, and I know that there's some controversy in the X-Men fan base about all the stuff that Hickman's doing. I don't really have that level of emotional attachment to it. I'm just taking it as a story, and as a story I think it's brilliant. So I also love Hickman. He's one of my favorite writers working currently. East to West is great. One of my favorite books from him. I also loved his Fantastic Four. So knowing Hickman's writing style going into this, I'm really excited. It's gonna be cool.
Oh, good. Oh, you said brilliant. You giving it the stamp of brilliance already. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Shaq Money? What do you think about this?
Okay, initially I was wondering, is this even part of continuity? Is this canon? Because Moira having the power of reincarnation, basically post-mortem reincarnation, kind of. It was like you said, a Groundhog Day style of events. And curiously enough, in that very issue where they reveal her reincarnation power, there's a Groundhog Day poster in that English pub.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, or somewhere. You see, it's right there.
Oh,
yeah,
there it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Huh.
Eagle Eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very. At first, I thought, what kind of retcon is this? This is going to undo everything if this is part of continuity. But then I started looking at it again after rereading Hickman's whole House of X, Powers of X. It's it makes sense because it changes things without messing up anything. But it also has various implications to it as well, because when I think with Moira, when she meets Charles and Magneto in her 10th life or current life, right? There's a blurb in House of X or Powers of X number 6 about her and Charles looking for suitable mates in order to have Omega level prodigy with, right? Which means Charles had Legion on purpose. That's not his deliberate his deliberate illegitimate son.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Moira, if you recall, Proteus is a child of rape.
Yep,
So-
That's true. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
So in this new, with this the context that her power puts everything into, it implies to me that she allowed herself to get beaten and raped as long as she got left with an Omega level kid.
Right, which is kind of dark, right? I mean, that's like a really dark.
Oh, it's hella dark.
Yeah, it's hella dark. It is. What about you, John? What is your overall feelings on the retcon? Are you okay with this? Do you feel weird about it? Uh-oh. Do we lose them?
No, you just
John.
can't hear him.
Oh, you're muted.
John, are you muted? You're muted, John.
There you go.
Okay,
There we
we hear
go.
you now.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm good with it. Because if you're gonna do a retcon, this is how you do it. You know what I mean? Let's be real. When you have, especially in comic
Oh boy.
of history,
Okay.
attached to your characters or whatever, and you've got to redo something. You've got to do it cleverly. Now we know on DC side, DC is they're really, really big on
Crisis.
reboots and retcons and whatnot. I mean the crises
Right,
are just
plural.
they
So overdone.
they just you just know that's what DC is gonna do. And there's a good side to it, kind of. like new readers can kind of jump in and not have to read like freaking decades of stuff. But at the same time, like people have been with it forever. They're just kind of like, bruh, like you're just gonna forget all the stuff that happened before. But with this, it's kind of like, all right, no, we're laying the groundwork to where, all right, this stuff happened before. But it may have been altered, and so we know that Moira came in the picture and altered it in some ways. And then as you get the story, like as the story unfolds, we get some things that have been altered and some things that haven't been altered. Like we know that, for example, Wolverine was still with Mariko at some point when he talks to Mariko. We know, I'll use Wolverine example because he's so old. We know that a lot of, well, I'll just say in general, we know a lot of the stuff that Wolverine's been through. He's done like the thing with Magneto ripping his skeleton out. We know that happened because it happened, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like they can change things without just completely like Banshee's alive, right? You know, like right. So it's like obviously that was changed, and it's like not really a big deal. It's like a clean way to do it. It's like, okay, well, he's alive because things happen differently because of Moira's intervention or whatever. So I'm good with if retconning it like this. I'm good with the way that they did it versus just like, oh yeah, we just don't know what happened before. We're just going to start over for no reason.
No, it's a clever and very savvy way of like sidestepping all the things that fans hate. But also having your cake and eating it too, right? You know what I mean? Like, and which I kind of have to give him credit for that. I'm like, I hope he sticks to landing. That's my big thing here. Like, and I'm with you, Chris. I've gone the distance with Hickman before, and I've been very happy with the outcome. So I'm just that bank of trust. I'm just putting more quarters in it and hoping that it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a viewer comment already. What do we got here? Thaddeus House of X is an amazing House of X is an amazing piece of writing. A great retcon that isn't a retcon yet deals with changing the story while incorporating all of it in the same breath. Yeah, it was just exactly what we just said. And I think that's the general attitude is that like you either were on board early on or you're not at this point, right? And if you're willing to accept it, you can roll with it, which I'm starting to feel like a lot of people are kind of rolling with it. So
you guys question.
Yeah, what's up?
So Moira McTaggart, I know, is like a major character and all throughout Claremont and especially like John Byrne and stuff like that. Does this really change anything with the character? Like, could there be a way to possibly say that, like, no, like Moira and Charles, like they were always kind of like doing the Hickman thing behind everyone's back?
That's the way it looks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like without breaking the universe.
Yeah.
Right.
Although without the breaking the universe comment, because you know how Moira, when she dies, the universe that she's in either goes with her or gets rebooted. So
right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the weird thing about it, right?
Yeah, it leaves her inextricably tied to reality. So if she dies in the 616 universe, does that universe go with her?
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, actually, you bring up a very good point because my theory, and like I don't have it's not really steeped in any logic. Really, it's just more along. This is how my brain is able to process this. Was my brain is going? Are we in the 616, or are we in a 616 adjacent reality that was tweaked by Moira's involvement? So I'll say, like, to me, this is like the 617. You know what I mean?
A what-if reality.
I mean, if you're going off of what happened at the end of like Secret Wars, it was basically 616 Rebirth, the remix. Because I mean, you think about all the characters from all the universes during Secret Wars. Like you have Wolverine's son from the Ultimate Comics. He somehow popped up in this world and stuff, which I'm kind of a little weirded out. They're not addressing that in House of It in Dawn of X, but whatever. You know, you got Miles Morales. His book is actually, funny enough, it's actually dealing with the fact that these characters like, hold up, this ain't our world. What are we doing here?
Oh, really?
It's like, all right, cool. They're actually dealing with that right now.
When you say their world, you mean it's not the Ultimate Universe? Or?
Yeah, it's not the Ultimate Universe because they just like because I mean both of Miles' parents are alive right now.
Right,
which in the Ultimate Universe, his mom got killed by Venom. Yeah. Spoilers if you've never read the Ultimate one, but still, it's like so with Moira, it's like she has all these alternate realities, but I think it's like. It's kind of like all of it was good kind of sort of thing. It's kind of like and it's kind of weird, especially coming off Endgame where we know how time travel happens. So it's like maybe these alternate universes happen and they just go straight back to MOIRA at this point. So it's like they happen, but just in her head kind of thing. It's weird. That's time travel to me, whether it's in comics or movies. It's always strange to me to kind of get a read on like
Marvel's
yeah. Yeah, Marvel, they've always flip-flopped back and forth with time travel. Like we saw in Avengers Endgame, their rule is if you go back in time, you're not actually changing anything. You're just creating a parallel divergent timeline, an alternate Earth. Now, Marvel broke its rule back in 95 when they did the Age of Apocalypse, which was a complete reboot of the 616 timeline until it was restored at the end of X-Men Omega. But now, because they wanted to bring the whole storyline back, they made it its own alternate universe with its own numerical designation, Earth 295. So now it's a what-if parallel reality.
Right. So
somebody in the comments said it's like reality alterations kind of thing and stuff, which I'm like, that makes sense. Yeah.
No, this is why we got Cy, because Cy breaks it down. All right, Thaddeus is saying you are not in 616. He said that emphatically. We are not in 616. You're in a pocket universe. Okay. All right, I'll accept it. We got issues. Here we go. Hawks and Pox is freaking off. I'm all in, even with X tennis awards. Best thing ever to happen to the X-Men. Interesting. All right. Anybody else want to weigh in on that 616 thing before I move on?
So actually, based off my reading of House of X and Powers of 10, it was my assumption that the Earth that we are watching everything play out on, that is the current mainstream Earth. Because Hickman does make it very clear that this is Moira's like one of her final lives, and he does like what's it called? He does like a play-by-play of the entire like X-Men history, where he says, you know, these are like the early words. These are the early years. These are Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. Then you get to John Byrne. Then you get to the 90s. Then you get to Morrison, and then everything between Morrison and Bendis is just the lost decade because he doesn't care about that stuff because he hated it.
Which I mean, it's weird. It's weird though because that was a time because I had gotten back into comics right when Avengers Disassembled happened. And I usually tell people if they're trying to get into Marvel Comics, that's actually a pretty decent starting point because that's right when House of M and all that stuff started. And it was kind of interesting because it makes sense why I don't think a lot of people hated that whole arc because I thought it was great that the X-Men needed that shot in the arm. Like, all right, there's only 100 mutants because we got too many damn mutants. Let's do 198. Let's just get it down to 90. Let's get it down to that and let's focus on that. And it got some good books. And then eventually when you get Hope Summers coming to the mix, it's like, all right, I guess we got more mutants now. And it felt like the books were kind of running in circles a little bit, especially when you get to Avengers X-Men and just all this other stuff. And then they try to make Fetch happen with the Inhumans. And it's like, all right, we need to reboot this now. Let's just go on ahead and just get Hickman on here and just reboot it all and just go from there.
And Chris, that worked for me actually because from 2015 when Uncanny X-Men 600 dropped during Bendis' run, that's when I just dropped out of buying newer issues altogether. I'm like, okay, I'll come back when y'all X-Books get y'all act together.
Yeah.
I mean, I still kept track of everything online, but I wasn't buying anything. And Troy was kind enough to bring me trades of X-Men Red, Gold, and Blue, but that stuff wasn't exciting to me. Enter Jonathan Hickman, House of X, Powers of 10. That's what got me going back in the shop and buying newer issues again. That's how Shaq got his group back.
I think with the numbers though, like okay, so how in the past you got like 811. I believe it's like 795. I think 811 is Days of Future Past, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
795, and then I want to say 795. It was 295 or 795 is Age of Apocalypse. I can't remember.
295.
You get all of these different numbers, and then obviously the big number. So you get 616 is like the main number, right? And then 1610 was 2015. Like that's what was there before 2015. So you get all these different alternate universes. But I feel like, and I could be wrong. It's just a theory. I feel like Moira is acting all in 616. Like even her past lives, I feel like all of that Moira is still like 6.6.1. So 6.1, 6.2. You know what I mean? Because there's the reason why I feel that way is because I think the main thing that gets me is that in Age of Apocalypse, Mystique's
Destiny.
So yeah, the Destiny in Apocalypse is, and I get it happened before, but still, like that's a different destiny than 616's destiny. She's telling futures and past about what happened in Apocalypse, but this, like, when she meets Destiny in this, she's talking about, and then that one issue where you see her interact with Mystique, which I'm sure that's going to get circled back around to.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
But you get the sense that there's a Destiny that, like, I feel like Destiny can see what's in her universe, but not what's in like parallel universes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think she only sees hers. So like this Destiny can see everything that's going on in 616. So she warns Moira in issues, and in House of X too. But like, I don't know, like I don't feel like, I mean, there's not any definitive proof, but my theory is that like a different Destiny is almost like a different universe almost.
But
yeah, I mean,
I want to point this out too, like in X-Men 255, right? When the Reavers, when they stormed Muir Island, right? And the Freedom Force, Mystique, Destiny, Pyro, and all of them had to come to their rescue. And that's the same issue where Destiny died, right?
Yeah.
Moira's interaction with Destiny in House of X #3, that puts that whole interaction in a whole new different context. And plus, like you said, Destiny being able to only see the future of 616, you might be right, because every time Moira dies, it just reboots that universe, really. And I don't know.
But Destiny can see it though. That's what makes me think like 6.6.1, 2, 3, etc. Because Destiny know everything Moira been doing, basically.
Actually, Johnny made a great point. I think actually to your point, Sceritz, Moira is like an operating system, and this is version 1.27. I actually kind of think I like that. I like that. Not, I was saying 617, but no, I think 616.2 might be more accurate, which just makes my head hurt for sure. So hold on, we got some more comments here. I agree with Cy. X-Men were just going in circles until Hickman came on the books. Absolutely. Got any more comments here, Johnny? Thaddeus is back. He says, think of them as computer saves of a running universe.
Yeah. That's what we said.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Each time Moira dies, each universe equals one life, and a reset is in a series of comics in the 616 universe. Okay.
And that's what I liked. That's what I liked about the House of X Power of X thing, because it was like Moira really was like, all right, what happens if, like I said, what happens if I let let Apocalypse run everything, screw Charles and Magneto? All right, well, this is how it goes. All right, what happens if I let Magneto go with his vision instead of Xavier and Apocalypse? Well, that ain't gonna work. And like I said, we go, and that's why I think she went with Xavier's plan, and that's why when you get to the end of it and you see Apocalypse and Xavier shaking hands, I mean, going to your next whole thing on the X-Men villains, I ain't gonna lie. When they shook hands, I was like, oh,
I had a tear in my eyes.
I was like, yes.
I'm like,
yes.
Let me just say, like, Apocalypse is one of those characters that, like, he's not my favorite X-Men villain. My favorite is Magneto. But when Apocalypse shows up, it's kind of like an moment, right? Like, it's definitely like okay, this is real. And some of my favorite stories involve Apocalypse. And actually, Chris, you lined it up for me, so I'm going to take it. Yep. Are the X-Men villains now? Like, here's a big question for you guys. Like, I've seen. Look, so here's the thing, right? I was getting really mad with people early on in this story because I was online on YouTube. And like, probably not the best place to like sometimes go for opinions about things, right?
Yeah.
But or social media in general.
So, they're true. But I saw people saying like, "Oh, I hate it because the X-Men are villains now." And I'm like, here's my take. Let me just get this out here real quick.
All right.
It's complicated, and I say it's complicated because Secret War and all the Avengers books that were leading up to Secret War with the incursions, all the stuff, Hickman really was leaning on. It's not just about saving the day. There's a lot of moral dilemmas to being a hero. You know what I mean? And I think that that's something he likes to toy with a lot. And that's what I think he's doing here. But I want you guys to take. Are they villains? Are they heroes? Are they neither? What do you think?
They are threading the needle, but they're doing it in such a good way, because what I like about it was, if you go all the way back to what was the X-Men event where it was Bastion that was the bad guy.
Operation Zero Tolerance.
Yeah, that's an X-Force, right?
No, that was X-Force, Generation X, and
like
X-Men.
all the books. Yeah,
oh, gotcha.
No. Actually, it was the recent one. No, the recent one with Bastion. He had Nimrod's body.
And Magus was in there like under and stuff like that.
Crochet?
No.
That was X-Force. I know what you're talking about.
No. They were dealing with Hope Summers. They were basically tying up that whole Hope Summers thing and stuff. And it was basically
that was even after that.
Yeah, it was basically that whole thing. the X-Men pretty much realized the Avengers don't care about them, because the Avengers rolled up to the Alcatraz and was like, "Hey, you need our help?" And Cyclops was like, "Dude, we've been needed your help since since way back when we were only 98 of us, and you didn't help us now. Now you want to help us?" So it's like the whole thing with Krakoa. They were like, "Look, we're clearly on our own. Nobody's going to be here to help us. We're going to have to sit there and flex and do what we got to do." And now that they're all combined, I mean, look, the fact that they have a cabal of 12 people and they kind of sort of got Mr. Sinister in line, even though he got his own little thing that's going. Yeah, sort of. I was like, Mr. Sinister, he's the type of person that Essex has like loopholes that he's finding out recently on how to get around all that stuff. But the fact that they have all these people basically kind of like combined, like, hey, we can actually do things if we actually just cut the BS and just work together and stuff. It scares the crap out of everybody, because they're like, they actually got themselves organized. And I mean, it's an augmentation of how people feel about, minorities if we get ourselves together and stuff. Yeah. And when they went to the UN, and they had Gorgon and Cyclops there as their bodyguards, and was like, "Yeah, go on." I think that whole issue right there is where people felt as though the X-Men were villains, because those three. Look, the fact that they came out in 3-piece suits, that already tells you right there. They was like, "Yo," they were regulating. Wakanda was like, "Yo, we don't want the smoke, but we might consider it, maybe."
I love that cover. The cover, like, for just because it's my brain works, reminds me of the opening of Belly.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what it was, and I mean, I remember
like Reservoir Dogs,
neon lights.
I posted up on my IG, and it's just the imagery of, first off, Apocalypse in a 3-piece suit. It's just funny, but it's like that's them all. Basically, Magneto and Xavier and Apocalypse are on the same page. Like, yo, like if we're gonna survive, we're gonna have to flex a little bit. Like that's just what it is.
Let me just jump in and say, I feel like people, to Troy's question, I feel like people in the conversation. Sorry, I'm like skipping the line a little bit. I'm gonna make it brief.
Second coming.
I feel like people who are saying, "Oh, are the X-Men villains now?" or they're screaming X-Men villains. I'm like, y'all are thinking too black and white. Yeah. This is not a villain or hero thing. This is a people thing. This is they are a nation. They are a people. They have their own culture. They're establishing their culture. And yeah, it's the same way whenever black folks get together and do something. I just use black folks as an example. People go, wait, what are you guys doing over there? What's that?
Yeah.
Black Wall Street. What? So when the mutants get together, like example X-Men number 4, and they established, all right, we're coming in here, we're having a business conversation. Yes, we have our product, these drugs of different sorts that can help people. Yes, we're obviously going to monetize it because money don't grow on trees.
Capitalism.
You know what I mean? Like we have to establish ourselves in the world ecosystem, or world economy, you know what I mean? So of course we're going to sell it. Yes, we're not gouging you. We're trying to make it accessible to you. You know what I mean? And yes, we're also going to come with our guardsmen like Cyclops and Gorgon. Yes, we're going to come with. Yes, we have a CIA X-Force. Right. Yeah. Of course. Because look at the first thing you guys did. The reason why they have all that stuff was they explained it immediately. Like they jumped off the cuff in X-Force. They immediately explained the reason why we're setting this stuff up like this is because if we didn't, then X-Force would have been the end of House of X from the jump. You know what I mean? Or what happened in X-Force would have been in it. Like if they didn't prep, like it would have been just over.
Yeah, Xavier would have been it. That would have been it. Yeah, you're right.
I agree.
I'm sorry. Let me jump over to Mystical Green Beanie here. What's up?
I also think that it's a little too, like you said, it's too close-minded to think about this as heroes and villains, mainly because Hickman does not write superhero stories.
You're right.
Yep. I noticed that when reading his Avengers World and then reading Incursions and all that, he writes science fiction stories. This is a science fiction story.
Yes.
This is him doing like Dune. This is him doing like Asimov. This is him doing something like that. This is him like taking these characters and making them science fiction protagonists and telling like a politically like allegorical story. Yeah. And it's funny. A lot of people were complaining about this being they're making the X-Men like supervillains and blah blah blah. I was talking about this with my boss the other day. The X-Men weren't really heroes ever.
No, I agree with that. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm actually doing sorry to plug myself here, but I'm doing a video for an unrelated project, and I had to go back and read a lot of those old Jack Kirby and Stan Lee X-Men comics. They start out as superheroes, and then Boulevard Trask goes on TV in issue
14,
yeah, and he's like, mutants, we gotta kill those X-Men mutants because they're bad, and everyone who loves it after 13 issues is like, oh well, I got an autograph from Cyclops, but if Boulevard Trask says that he's a bad guy, we gotta build these robots. The X-Men transition very early on from being the superhero team to being more like a mutant paramilitary organization.
Yep.
And they even kind of bring that up in Morrison, which a lot because Morrison's like one of the three things I've read of X-Men. But there's a really important line that Cyclops has at the beginning of that run, where he cites specifically that the X-Men used to wear colorful costumes that mimicked the Avengers and Spider-Man and all these characters like that, because Professor X wanted the public to be less hostile towards them. But
it didn't matter.
Eventually, it didn't matter.
But once you got to the past 20 years with Morrison doing the whole mutants are going to be the future. They are going to inherit the Earth.
Right.
It doesn't matter anymore. They put on the black leather Bryan Singer costumes, and we're like, all right, let's just do what we're gonna do until we inherit the Earth because it's coming. And I like how Hickman is taking that ball and running with it.
Right.
And very important in a House of X, where it's like the mutant massacre on Genosha, as well as Scarlet Witch, who he calls the Pretender, and I've noticed it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
But he says that those events just stunted mutant evolution. It's still coming. Mutants are going to be the dominant species of the planet. Yeah, and humanity can't change that. And
Can I just say?
Good?
No, go ahead.
I'm not sure if this gets into spoiler territory, but in Powers of X, there's this really interesting premonition. I'm not sure if it's going to actually come to pass or not, but Hickman lays the groundwork for this transhumanist movement within human governments, where I think Nimrod and the humans of Earth, the last remaining humans of Earth, meld themselves together. So humans meld themselves with machines, but also Nimrod as well as the Sentinels aren't just the Sentinels. It's a program set up by the Phalanx.
Yeah,
it's like some Mass Effect Reavers type situation. That's what it feels like and stuff. Which I'm like, that's even more scary, and that's why I like the very first issue. It was like the very first issue coming out of House of X when the X-Men stormed that space station near the sun. They was like, we gotta destroy this because this is what the possible future is going to happen. We're going to have to deal with humans and Sentinels, which I think it's going to be kind of like Thanos said in the Avengers, I am inevitable. So it's going to happen. It's just a case of is it going to happen exactly that way, or is it going to be in a different way? So
we know it's inevitable. I'm sorry to cut somebody off. I haven't had a chance to answer the question yet. Yeah, the are the X-Men villains? They walk the line of it now, and they kind of have to, because with Moira experiencing over 1,000 years within 10 lifetimes of her experience, and knowing that the mutants always lose to the Sentinels, as she painfully learned in her 7th life, they have to be a lot more proactive now against anything they perceive as a mutant threat. For example, X-Men / Fantastic Four, that limited series. If you guys remember what happened at the end of that, what Xavier did to Reed Richards, he not only erased his mind about how to create a device that would suppress the mutant gene, but he also made sure that Reed Richards remembered that Xavier erased his mind.
It's like Captain America with the Illuminati did. He remembered it whoa, you erased my mind? What?
It reminds me of the end of that R. Kelly video for the down low, when Mr. Biggs takes that hammer, beats him in the desert. He's like, look at me, I did this to you, and leaves him.
Oh God, okay.
Oh
Sorry.
my goodness.
Didn't
My
expect R. Kelly
goodness.
today.
I mean, he's right.
It's true.
Given how he acts on younger girls, I'm pretty sure he's not.
Notwithstanding.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. So we answered the X-Men or villains questions. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. I was going to ask you guys if it's too confusing, but you know what? I don't care. It doesn't matter. How do you feel about the resurrection protocols? I'm going to start with Chris. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back it up. Sai, I'm going to let you go first. You go first, Sai.
Okay, I think they're brilliant because it's like they got some of the Omega level mutants together, right? Hope Summers, Elixir, and they also found a use for Gold Balls to make his power more useful too, right? I'm glad Hickman threw that in there. And with those 5 together, they have an unlimited resurrection process. Now, on a related note, the Crucible process, that could be streamlined. I mean, why does a depowered mutant have to face Apocalypse to the death only to go through the resurrection protocol?
Man,
So they can earn it.
I mean,
I got
Alright.
on that.
Which makes Apocalypse's character. I mean, survival of the fittest, right? Now, I
Yeah.
agree with you. It seems a little jacked up, right? But I mean, I think that leans again into like, you know, the X-Men are kind of walking that line and like,
They're a cult.
This
I
is
don't know
core
if it's walking a line though. I don't.
territory.
I don't think it's so. It's funny. I know a lot of people critique that, but something that's also really fascinating about Hickman's take on the X-Men is that he is really expanding on the fact that the mutants are a race, or not a race, they're a species, and they have their own culture. And you know, much like any other culture in the world, things are going to be a little weird from the outside looking in, but for them, it's just completely natural. It's just what they do.
Right.
Um,
Right.
You're right. They got their own language. Yeah.
Yeah.
John,
That's-
what were you about to say, John?
I mean, he hit it nail on the head. Like I don't feel like they're walking the line. Like again, the villain hero thing. It's like no. They're I mean, because you can look at Wakanda that way if you want to.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wakanda,
sure.
There are
Right.
people that make that argument, and like I think
Right. They are a people, and within a people, you have some people like Sinister who are not so good. Apocalypse who have. I think Apocalypse throughout the series we've been seeing more of it. I think he has the best interest of mutants in mind for the most part, but I think his methods are just not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got, I think what you have is you have like Magneto and Xavier who are, what's the word? Not justifying, but they're compromising with some of the thought process of these other mutants. Where you would have like people were just, back in the day would be like, oh, Apocalypse showed up, no, kill him. Like there's no we don't want to hear him talk or anything. Like just kill him. You know what I mean? But now we're getting this new thing. So in terms of the question about the resurrection protocols in the Crucible, because the Crucible, that was maybe my favorite issue because Green Beanie said it. It is establishing a culture, and while that culture, so Americanized standards or the rest of any world standards, may seem like, oh no, that's wrong. Within that culture, that is perfectly, it's being established as their new norm. It's new, yes, but I like how they wrote that issue so much because they give them a choice. You know what I mean? She doesn't have the girl who they used to do it. She didn't have to do it. You know what I mean? And then after she did it, after she fought, after she went through the ringer, she was killed by Apocalypse. I mean, and that's another thing. It was almost like an honor to fight Apocalypse, one of the greatest, the oldest of all mutants. That's like an honor, and that's the way I was seeing in that culture. It's like an honor. You're fighting the oldest of all mutants, and he is going to basically rebirth you into something, you know. And then after she came up, it was like a celebration. You know what I mean? It reminded me of the Terrigenesis in humans. Whenever they go through Terrigenesis and they get out, it's a celebration. You know what I mean? So no, that's all culture. The rest now on the resurrection protocols, real quick. I'm all for it. I think they did a good job with explaining how they work. I know some people was like, well, it takes away stakes, and I'm like, there's other stakes other than just death. Now, don't be wrong. Some books along the line have overstepped the boundaries with it a little bit too much, to where it kind of makes you roll your eyes a little bit. Like, you know, they will like they had a scene. They had a Wolverine. He killed like Jean, and like sorry for spoilers for anybody, but he kills his team by accident in his book.
Yeah.
But it is like, well, and they like kind of gloss over because they could just bring him back. Domino dies at one point. Oh, we can just bring it back. Cecilia dies at one point. Oh, we bring it back.
Yeah.
Kid Omega die. Oh, we just bring it back. So like, there's a couple of times where they do overstep that line where kind of makes you roll your eyes. Well, they're just gonna bring him back. It's like, all right. I do like the X of Swords established that if you die over there, dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the story. That's an Excalibur story. That's what I like about it.
But but the key aspect of it that I liked and stuff, it was something that was like a throwback to what Tony Stark did. Because you remember Tony Stark, after Secret Invasion, he was losing his memory, and we found out that he stored his mind in like a black box. And I like how that, and I like how with the resurrection protocols, they're using the psychics like, all right, we're going to take the last thing, we're going to take all your memories and store it in like a black box. So when we resurrect you, the last thing you're going to remember is like before the mission. So you don't remember that. Oh shit, we died on, well, sorry. Like,
Yeah.
but
Your life's back up.
yeah. Your life's back up and you don't remember going on that, do or die mission, and stuff. And I thought that works, man. I actually think they're probably going to address that because when we talk about Banshee, last we saw him was, I think when he came back from the dead during that
Uncanny Avengers.
Yeah, Uncanny Avengers. So
No, he was in Uncanny X-Men the run right before this. He was in the run right prior to House.
But you have to imagine a lot of the people that got resurrected and stuff. There has to be some sort of mental thing that's going to happen to them where they're going to be like, "Hold up, didn't I die?"
Okay, and what? Domino's thing in X-Force, that was a good moral dilemma. Because before Domino died, she told Colossus, "I want to remember every moment." But then when she came back, I think they're gonna circle back around to that when they get back.
Because she was like, "Hold up, something's missing here." Like,
right. And then Wolverine kept talking to her about it. And he was like, "Nah, that's not normal because you asked to have your memories up to a certain point."
And what about the mutants who've been dead for like several decades, like John Proudstar or Everett Thomas? Sync from Generation X.
Wow!
When they brought him back in like one of the journal entries or whatever in the issue, they talked about what are the implications of bringing back a mutant who's been dead for God knows how long.
Right.
I mean, especially when you look back to like again going through House of X, Power of X. When they were actually talking to Sinister in an early time, like, so we're gonna kind of need you to keep doing your thing of gathering data on all the mutants, even though we kind of sort of don't like that. But we'll let you keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, oh, okay. So they literally and I think that's another implication that's gonna probably happen when all this is said and done. Is like you kind of gave Sinister kind of a leeway to do what he wants, even though he's part of the whole gang kind of thing. I don't know what you guys know, what you kind of opened up on that one. So,
I got some viewer comments here. Hold on one second. Thaddeus is back. It says that is a failure of the program. When you die, you lose experience necessary to progress. The biggest failure of this process is the loss of experience. That's interesting, actually. See, that's what I love about this. Like, it's really just like Joaquin pointed out. Science fiction like introduces these philosophical concepts, right? And it leaves them wide open for you to really think about them. And X-Men have always felt more sci-fi than superhero to me. So I love this. Okay, now we got an all-star in here, guys. We got Rich Johnson from Bleeding Cool. The resurrection from the text of the subtext, the mutants always die and come to life. The stakes had already been repeatedly diluted by decades of X-Men. I actually think that's also part of it for sure. It's its own little comment.
The Otherworld twist is good.
I mean, to the X-Men's credit though, they did a good job for so many years, like keeping Jean Grey dead. And it's like, that's a miracle in and of itself. You kept her dead for so long before you finally brought her back. All right.
Over a decade. Over a decade. Thank you.
I mean, that's a miracle in and of itself. I mean, Uncle Ben is still dead. Knock on wood. Whenever they decide to bring him back for whatever weird reason, but
it's an excuse backwards to bring back all those characters for X-Men Gold and Blue. Hickman just like introduce this new Deus Ex Machina to like bring them all back. And it's like, bro.
Yeah.
Ahead
here because we're at the 45-minute mark. All right, so here we go. All right, from the top, right? I'm gonna go around in a reverse circle, semicircle, right? TJ, what is the weakest? Who is the breakout character here in all of these books right now for you?
I'm gonna say Apocalypse to a degree, because that was a character that as soon as he shook his hands with Xavier, it's kind of one of those like, all right, when's the heel turn happening?
Right.
I don't know. It's like, and I think the heel turn is going to happen, but it's going to be in kind of like, I don't hate you why you did that, but I get it kind of way.
Yeah,
you know, because it's like he's going, like, I think he likes what Xavier and Charles set up, but I think the fact that he doesn't know about Moira is going to be something that he's going to feel some sort of way, like, you didn't tell me about this. Because everybody forgets it's only Xavier and Mags that knows about that. And that's kind of like detailed information that Apocalypse probably should know, and some of the other people in this little 12 people group should know to a degree. But granted, I understand why there are certain people in that group you don't want to tell because they might have some ulterior motives. But it's like you probably should have kept Apocalypse in a loop on this. And I'm feeling like, however, you know, Swords of X turns out, like if Apocalypse still comes out alive, he might end up like heel turning in some sort of way, like on some shield, like I hit you with the chair, done kind of thing. You know,
that's part and parcel why they don't allow no precogs on Krakoa.
Right. No, exactly.
Yeah.
What about you, Mystical Green Beanie? Who was the breakout character for you in this run?
Breakout character for me. I'm gonna be shallow and say Kid Cable. I hated him when I first saw the comic, but I was like, "Oh, that's stupid." Cable as a kid. And then I read the Cable book, and I was like, "No, I like Kid Cable."
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a throwaway book. It's not important to the main series, but he's just fun.
Okay. All right. Cool. What about you, John? Who's the breakout character for you?
So you already said Apocalypse. So I won't mention Apocalypse.
I mean, if you give the same answer, that's fine.
I've diversified up a little bit, you know. I kind of want to say Betsy, but I don't want to let this character go to the wayside. I gotta say Richter. I know it sounds weird because like, but Richter leveled up in this book, man. Like his relationship with Apocalypse, this dude is on some like Avatar level earthbending type stuff, dog. Like, when he got connected to the druids in that's one of the best things that came out of the Excalibur book. Even though the Excalibur book I don't think it's bad. I think it's just very
kind of went down,
like very hard to follow, very convoluted. But one of the greatest takeaways from that, I think, is Richter getting his huge level, especially after losing his powers for a while. Richter is kind of a beast now. Like, I mean, he might be Omega level now. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm gonna say Richter.
Vibe? Is it what you're choosing? Vibe?
No. I was just thinking out loud. A vibratory mutant as Omega level potentially is possible.
Yeah. What about you, Sai? Who was the breakout character for you in this?
This is gonna make y'all laugh. Doug Ramsey, Cypher.
No,
that makes sense.
I mean, he's pretty much the backbone of Krakoa. He's the one that worked with Krakoa to create the language, create the culture that every mutant that comes to Krakoa gets immediately downloaded into their brain. And he's the only one that can understand Krakoa itself. He's talking to Krakoa, and they're like, "What do he say?" He says he's not happy. He's like, "Damn, you don't got to be like that about it. Damn, dude." And the best part, and it kind of lampshades how Hickman is making these mutants who have been deemed as useless before because of their powers, like gold balls. He's making their powers have more practical usage. And Doug, during the whole X of Swords, the 10 of Swords thing, how he's made it with that woman, right? That girl, and he can't understand her. His power can't understand her at all. I thought that was funny.
Yo, he's captivated by her, by the fact that he can't understand her. He's like, I can't understand.
But I think also him. But I also think Cypher being that kind of intermediary for Krakoa at the council, it puts him in a position to where he knows a lot of stuff now. So it's like, oh crap! Like he's the kind of person everybody kind of looks at like, should he be here knowing all these secrets? Like it's kind of the equivalent. Remember when Stringer Bell's at the meeting for the co-op and dude's writing down notes and stuff in the pen? He's like, dude, you taking notes at a drug deal? What are you doing here? Like that's kind of what Cypher's at. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's like, should he still be here, man? Like
I feel like something's gonna come out of that because here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about my girl Ileana Rasputin, one of my favorite X-Men characters. All right, I feel like he's going to learn something that he's not going to feel comfortable telling the council, and he's going to mention it to somebody like Magic, and Magic is a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Like she makes snap quick decisions without asking nobody.
How caught up are you then? Because there's something that actually did happen in one of the Giant Size X-Men books where the X-Men are at war with I think it's the Brood.
Brood, yeah.
Where Cypher looks at one of the monoliths. I can't remember what they call it in the book, but he looks at it, and we don't see that exchange. But Cypher responds to it and says, "We'll get there." I was like, "Okay,
Right, yeah. Was
Yeah.
that the Haunted X-Mansion issue?
I think so."
Nightcrawler?
And
Okay.
but he's been pretty sus lately. You know,
Yeah.
Cypher's pretty sus.
Oh yeah, he knows. Oh, he definitely knows some things that the council doesn't know.
Also,
Breakout character, Rich Johnson says Sir
Okay.
James Jaspers. I did
Matt
note
Jim
that.
Jaspers.
Jaspers, yeah.
I did note that. I did note that. Actually, there's some interesting videos floating around. Because wasn't Jim Jaspers a Alan Moore creation? Wasn't that from the Cat in Britain comics?
Yes,
Or
he
was
was initially. Yes,
Yeah.
he was initially, yeah, but then he had an alternate reality version in Earth 238 who got so out of control that the Furies decided, you know what, put him in a dimension where there's no reality for him to manipulate. And that was the end of him.
Damn.
So yeah,
That sucks.
there's some interesting. There's two or three runs, I should say, that I've people have noted seem to have a huge influence on what Hickman's doing with this. And it's Alan Moore's Captain Britain run, new X-Men, of course, because everybody from the last 20 years loves new X-Men. Like any writer on X-Men loves new X-Men, and actually Mike Carey's run on X-Men too. I've noticed a lot of people pointed that out. So I'm actually going to go back and read Supernovas and all that other stuff too, because I'm
That was
curious.
good.
Bruh.
Gary,
Let me
Supernova was dope.
tell you, the moment that I caught my heart in my chest, when I saw Serafina from the Children of the Vault, bruh,
Yeah, isn't that
you
cool?
don't even know. But you know, like Supernova has a special place in my heart, dog. Like
Pandemic.
you don't even know.
Pandemic. That was my dude from Supernovas. Pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Good
Ah,
run.
love
Let's
that
jump
run.
ahead. Let's jump ahead. Strongest book in the line. What do you consider the strongest book in the line? I'm gonna start with. Let's see. Let's start with you, John. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up.
strongest book in the line. I mean, honestly, I gotta say it's X-Men because it establishes so much. It has the most clear establishing points. Like every issue is different, but you can tell in each issue they're establishing something. We see some of it already, like with Ten of Swords. You know what I mean? So we got some early establishment there. We got some early establishment with the Floronic people, Telefloronics. We get Children of the Vault, like I just mentioned. They're establishing a lot of things in X-Men. I mean, I know that's kind of the easy answer, but I mean it's doing it.
No, I mean I'll be honest with you. Like I am reading the Hickman books specifically, and when something catches my interest, I'll just go ahead and grab a single issue of one of the other books. But the X-Men Giant Size X-Men have been my go-to, and I guess Giant Size X-Men is over now. But that's been my go-to for the past year. What about you, Sai? What is the strongest book in the line?
I got to go with John on this, and I got to say X-Men has been the strongest one. I mean, Hickman's writing of all the Dawn of X books, Hickman's writing on his own books has been the strongest. And the one issue that we talked about before, where you got Xavier, Magneto, and Apocalypse in the three-piece suits, the page on there where Magneto is sitting there eating the steak and talking about, you guys are going to pay us money, and because you need these drugs, that we're going to take over your schools, we're going to take over your governments, because that's what we learned from you humans.
Right,
and by the way, this stick was fantastic. I love that scene.
It can't do anything.
He's so condescending to humans, right? But it's like,
Hey, look, let's be real before I let Green Beanie do. This is the same Magneto that, bear in mind, flexed on Captain America during Secret Empire and did not care whatsoever. It was like, hey, I know you're doing your thing with Hydra, but it don't matter. I can kill you if I wanted to. If I wanted to.
Yeah. What about you, Mystical Green Beanie? Strongest book in the line?
Strongest book in the line. I'm gonna be all right. I'll just go with what you guys said. X-Men. It's so like riveting. Not to take away from all the other X-Men books. I think they're strong in their own right as well. But yeah, everything Hickman's doing, it feels deliberate. And I know that like a big critique is that it feels too slow for some people, but like he's building to something. Like there's a lot of tension there. You can feel it. I love that. I love every scene with Magneto. In fact, I'm gonna change my other answer. I'm gonna say Magneto is actually the breakout for me.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of hubris with his character, even now.
Oh yeah.
Mutant and proud.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of relative godhood with Magneto. Which is weird. Like, Apocalypse is standing right next to him because Apocalypse is an actual god.
Wow. External.
Everything that Hickman's been doing with that character in that book because I think Magneto actually kind of is the protagonist of the X-Men book. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, everything there is just fascinating, and it's my favorite of the books coming out right now.
Nice. Okay, with you. Chris, you or are you gonna go with X-Men?
I would go with the X-Men book, but I would say coming in close to it would be Marauders, just because I like the aspect of them putting the focus on Kitty Pryde and her whole trying to figure out why she can't go to Krakoa and all that stuff. But like I said, I like it. Really show. I saw a lot of people that didn't know how Kitty Pryde's powers work. So when they were seeing how she was like fighting those guys in the first issue and stuff, it was like, oh, I didn't know Kitty Pryde could do that, because again, their knowledge is just what they see on like the movies and
they think it's Ellen Page.
So when they see how she's using it and how she technically could kill people if she wanted to, it's like, oh, and then just the implications. I mean, if you guys read it, but like some of the people that are watching this are reading it and stuff, when you see the implications of her death and her coming back, and the fact that Emma Frost picked her as being part of that whole the council for the Hellfire Club, is like, oh, okay, that's interesting, and also just a little quip that Kitty Pryde had with Essex in regards to fashion.
The lost and found.
It's like you came from the lost and found of the X-Men. Are you really gonna tell me about my fashion sense? Like, come on.
Before Emma took pity on you.
I think Kitty still holds the record of most changed costumes of any character. I'm gonna say in superhero history.
And name changes. And no one's ever called her by her code name. It's always Kitty Pryde, even us audience members.
Right.
I also really like the relationship that Emma has with Kitty. That feels like something that got dropped after Whedon's run. Because that's something that I really resisted about the Whedon Cassidy run, but here it retroactively makes that material a little better for me, because that rivalry, it doesn't feel hollow. It feels like it was going somewhere, even though it was all retroactive. But I don't know. I like it a lot.
I do too. It's like she's like, if I wouldn't mess you like this if I didn't like you, Kitty.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell people, don't sleep on Kitty Pryde, because there was what if issue. There was a what if issue. Hold fast, right? First of all, that's great, right?
Hold fast,
but like, there's an issue. There's a what if issue for Enemy of the State, where it's like her and Magneto are the like last surviving characters to take the brunt of Wolverine's onslaught, and it comes down to her and Logan, and Kitty wins. She loses, but she wins, and it's actually pretty phenomenal. So yeah. Okay, so real quick, thoughts on X of Swords. Let's try to keep this quick, because we're definitely at the hour mark. Who wants to go first?
I go.
Chris, go.
So X of Swords. I don't feel it should have been 18 parts. That's just me. With 22 parts, my bad, 22 parts, because it kind of hits those levels of how like a lot of event comics where they feel if it's longer, then it's going to keep people's attention. It could have been 10 parts, and some of the other stuff could have been in side books, because I feel they're at a point now where they're just padding stuff. And I'm kind of at a point where it's like, y'all just exposited this tournament, and because it builds up to making it seem as though it's like the Tournament of Power arc in DBZ, and then it's like, oh, it's kind of not like that so far. And I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. I'm hoping. I mean, yeah, we're dealing with Apocalypse's baby mama drama. All right, cool, fine. Let's just see where this goes. So I'm along for the ride, but I'm kind of like, all right, Hickman, let's see where this goes.
Actually, I'm gonna interject real quick and be like, you know what? The thing I like about this is the Apocalypse backstory, because I think it was Chris who mentioned Shield, Architects of Forever, the Hickman, where one of the first, like early in that book, I think it's like the first 5 pages, we see Imhotep and Apocalypse like taking on a brood horde in Egypt, like in ancient Egypt. And that always caught my attention. I'm like, I want to know more about that. And this isn't necessarily exactly that, but I feel like because it's Hickman, he wrote that too. It's all going to kind of converge and come together in some way, shape, or form. Mystical Green Beanie. I'm sorry, actually, Sai, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, my thoughts on X of Swords. At first, it was pretty slow for me, because I'm like, I know you're trying to go give like Apocalypse a backstory and tie it into Otherworld and give it like a backdrop of like a old school Excalibur story. But right when Wolverine, when he killed Saturn IX, or thought he killed her, that's when the story picked up for me. And like you, Troy, I'm also interested in learning more about Apocalypse. I mean, we had his origin, the rise of Apocalypse back in the 90s, where they tied him to the pharaoh Ramatut. who we know as Kang the Conqueror and Immortus and whatnot. But this stuff right here, it showed that he actually had a wife, he had kids, as opposed to the other, as opposed to his other descendants in the current time, like Chamber and Blink, right? This actually delves more into how Apocalypse was domesticated at one point.
All right. What about you, Mr. Green Beanie? What do you have?
In all honesty, I'm not reading X of Swords. I will read it eventually. It's all like collected, but this also kind of goes to like my big negative with the new X-Men status quo. I don't think Marvel's quite learned their lesson in the regard of there being too many books, and it's a thing where it doesn't matter how good the story is. I don't want to read, I don't want to have to read like 8 books to understand what's going on in the book that I'm reading currently.
Right.
So I'm just gonna wait till it's all collected. But things, so I'm excited to check it out. But yeah.
All right. Cool. What about you, John?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what Beanie said about the all the books being in different places. That's annoying. I don't like the fact that it's around. Like you gotta hop around. I mean, no, it is very linear. Like if you read like Swords of X1 and then you go to the next book and read, then it reads well. But again, for people out there, it's probably easier to just read it when it's collected. In terms of the story itself, love the Apocalypse backstory. Like that is some epic stuff right there. The setup for the tournament is pretty dope. The setup with the swords is pretty dope. Saturnine being kind of this middle ground lady is pretty dope. Now the tone, like when the tournament starts, the tone seems off or out of order almost. And the reason why I say that, slight spoilers, not huge spoilers, but slight spoilers, is that the first fight in the tournament is like this. So they set up they eat the night before, right? They set up a thing with the eat. I love that. I love that like the combatants are like eating together before they do their thing. And then they go into this thing where they set up the first big fight, and it's Captain Britain versus Iska, the unbeaten, I believe. Or the unbeatable or something like that.
Unbeatable,
yeah. And the problem I had there is that something major happens there, but then after that, it kind of leads into like this kind of, I don't want to say devolves, but it kind of devolves into like kind of these other events that are not real fights, kind of like goofy events, fun events, but the tone is off, because they had this major blow happened at the very beginning and then led into it's kind of like a Harry Potter. Like if you watch Harry Potter and they led out with people dying and then they did fun events afterwards, that's kind of weird. As opposed to how they do it, like you do Harry Potter, it's like fun movies or whatever, fun things happening, and then it leads into Goblet of Fire, where oh snap, Voldemort's back now. It's serious and people are dying now. You know what I mean? But like they did, it's like the tone is out of order in Ten of Swords. But I mean, I don't dislike it. It's just I feel like it could have been handled a little bit better, but I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see what comes out on Wednesday.
Well, I want to remind people actually, like, don't be deterred. Like, look, after Shield and Secret War, I can tell you, me personally, I went the distance with those books, and I was sitting there like, oh God, do I really want to do this? And then I got to the end, and I was so satisfied with them. Same thing with Shield. Like, the book took like almost 10 years to come out.
Man, like that last issue was sticking around for a long time. Low key,
series ended.
Yeah,
low key, it stuck around a lot longer than that Hulk versus Wolverine Ultimate comic, where it's like, oh, you finally finished it. Like, okay, it's about time.
It took y'all long enough.
But I'll say this: like, the ending was really cool and really good, and like, I'm glad Hickman's back in the Marvel universe. I like this world building. It's just this whole thing is just one big world building exercise, and I think that like that's great for a lapsed X-Men fan. And I think that's great for new X-Men fans. And I think that's really what we're hitting on here. So it's an impressive undertaking. And I want to remind people, actually, right now, if you go to PREVIEWsworld.com, you can get a preview of X-Men number 15, which hits your local comic shop next week. And that is part of the 10 of Swords. We kept saying X of Swords. I do that all the time. Part of the 10 of Swords crossover. And I think next week is actually the final couple of chapters. Like, I think.
Yeah, all three.
Next week is a big wrap up. So definitely check that out. All right, real quick, around the clock. Who is your? Oh, wait a minute. I do have one more. Apocalypse has a great story. Has great story possibilities right now. He does, and that's what I love about it. I absolutely love about that. 2000, Man Reborn. Wow, mystical Green Beanies. Here.
Here.
I don't know if it's here or here,
He's here.
Oh yeah, he's here.
Thanks for watching.
All right. So, all right, we're gonna go around real quick, and everybody just shout out. Who is your daddy? What does he do? Right, Chris.
Apocalypse.
Chris, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at 3 Black Geeks. I'm usually me and my co-host D Shaw and DJ Sue. We kind of run that website, and you can also find me on Twitter at CJ WizGeek. That's my personal Twitter account, and you can also find us on YouTube with our podcasts and stuff at 3 Black Geeks, youtube.com/3 Black Geeks. And basically look us up on any place that you can find our podcast at. We're actually on Spotify too. So if you use Spotify to listen to podcasts, we're on there as well. So do that.
All right. Mystical Green Beanie, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch if I stop being lazy at Mystical Green Beanie.
All right, cool. And actually, I'm going to give you a shout out because he has some really great videos. Like he did a great unpacking of Scott Snyder's and Greg Capullo's Batman. I have never been interested in that series. I'll be honest with you, largely because it was overhyped. But he made me want to get back and read it. Like I felt like I was missing something after reading that, after watching his video. Cy, where can people find you?
You can catch me in a cherry red 150. No. Nah, for real though. On Instagram, you can find me there at Shaq_House83, and that's also my Twitter handle as well. And for my podcast, Wall of Soundtrackers, go to Instagram, Road Tunes Reviews. That's all one word.
Road Tunes Reviews. All right, and Sceritz, who can you shout out? Where are you?
You can find me online at Fourth Wall. That's IVWALL on Twitter, on Facebook if you look that up. You can find the Green Lantern podcast. We're currently doing episodes in preparation for the Green Lantern show that's coming out through the DC TV Podcast Network. And of course, you can't forget to shout out my comic Scorpio. Yeah. If you want to go check out creator-owned comic, go to scorpiocomic.com.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. You made this aging nerd feel good about here. Like it was so tough for me because I'm reading these books and Sceritz and I used to do a podcast where we would review things week to week, and slowly I think towards the end it became the X-Men show. Right.
because House and Powers was coming out. That's all we were talking about.
It's like, when are these guys going to talk about Avengers? Jeez, X-Men,
X-Men again.
Just had to get it out of my system. I was like, I need a good geek off. I need to sit down with my peeps and just talk about some comic books. Thank you very much for helping me out and doing that. I appreciate it. Hey, if this goes over well, maybe we can do another one in the future.
I'm
totally 100%. Look, these conversations,
these are fun.
This is great.
And Peter says, thanks, guys, for a great roundtable. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thank you.
It's fun. I've had all day.
Kyle, that was dope, guys. Thank you. And also, I want to remind you guys, hey, share, like, and subscribe to Previews World. Check out PreviewsWorld.com. Look, we're everything for the comic book industry, and I'm not just saying that just to make myself sound good. That's just a fact. We are. Yes, we are comics, and we talk about comics, as you can see here. So definitely share, like, and subscribe. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, at Previews World. Come say hi to Troy. That's me. And hey, guys, I will see you at the spinner rack. Catch you later.
Peace.